Hey everyone, and welcome to your daily market pulse. Today was a real classic standoff on Wall Street. We saw a lot of pushing, a lot of pulling, and we're going to break it all down for you. So let's just get right into it.
Oh, it really was, Alex. Tug of war is the perfect way to put it. You had these massive forces on both sides, but in the end, well, nobody really came out on top. So yeah, let's figure out who was on which end of that rope.
All right, so let's start with the big picture. If you just glanced at the major U.S. indexes today, you might think not much happened. They were basically treading water. But believe me, there was a ton of action just bubbling under the surface, even if those big headline numbers looked kind of flat.
That's exactly it. And this slide really shows you that conflict in action, right? On one hand, you had healthcare and energy just dragging the market down. But on the other hand, you had these pockets of real strength, especially in tech. It really feels like investors are kind of just holding their breath, just waiting to see what the next big economic report says.
And all that holding their breath? Well, it translates to this number right here. The S&P 500, which, as you know, is a fantastic barometer for the whole market. It ended up slipping just a tiny bit, down 0.3%. It's not a huge drop, but that little slip, it tells a much bigger story about just how cautious everyone's feeling.
Okay, so that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? We know what happened, but we need to know why. What's got investors so spooked right now? Why couldn't they pick a direction and just go with it?
Well, Ben, it looks like the answer is coming straight from the economy. Some new numbers just came out, and they're pointing to some weakness in the labor market. And, that's one of those classic warning signs that makes everyone nervous about a slowdown. It was definitely enough to make some people say, you know what, I'm going to sell and take my profits while I can.
All right, so that's the big market-wide story. But now, let's zoom in a bit. Let's talk about some individual companies. Because even on a quiet day like this one, believe me, some specific stocks were making some major moves.
Yeah, let's start with a couple of the big guys. First, you've got Merck. They were caught up in that same healthcare weakness we were just talking about, so their stock took a hit. But then you have Oracle, which was actually one of the day's bright spots. It looks like investors are getting really excited again about their cloud business, and that gave the stock a nice boost. And here's where it gets really interesting, because these next two stories have nothing to do with the broader market. Take Comcast. It actually went up today, completely against the grain. And why? Well, there's a rumor swirling that an activist investor might be sniffing around. Someone who comes in to shake things up. Then, on the complete opposite end, you have Booz Allen. Their stock went down simply because their CFO announced they were resigning. It's just a perfect example of how much a change in leadership can really spook the market.
Okay, so we've gone through all the serious stuff. The numbers, the sectors, the big movers. But now, it's time to have a little fun and take let's say a more cosmic look at tomorrow. It's time for our daily investment fortune.
All right, let's see what the stars have in store for December 17th. And it looks like the big winner today is the Dragon. The forecast is calling for a bullish breakout. So the advice is simple: ride that wave and hodl with conviction.
Hodl with conviction, I love it. But it's not all good news. The sign that needs to be a little careful today is the rabbit. Your forecast is a bearish drift. So you're going to want to watch out for any pullbacks and maybe, just maybe, think about some hedges to protect yourself. Definitely a day to play it safe.
Where bulls and bears each carve out their edge. Wow. If that doesn't perfectly sum up today, I don't know what does. It really, really does. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for tuning in to our Market Explainer, and we'll catch you on the next one.